are ready, okay? I finished.
Oh, give it a moment and you'll see it come up.
You're almost ready? Okay, everyone, welcome to this workshop. We are very happy to have you here as part of this conference for English teachers 2025. Thank you for your enthusiasm and commitment to professional growth. This workshop title is The Art of Keeping Them Engaged, Positive Listening in Action. And the speaker is Federico Cruz. Thank you, Federico, for being here. To begin, we enjoy our first workshop presented by Federico. And before we start, we'd like to share a brief introduction to his professional background.
Federico Cruz holds a doctorate in Leadership and Learning in Organizations from Vanderbilt University, a Master of Education Science from Universidad de Monterrey, and a degree in Mechanical Engineering from TEC de Monterrey. A passionate educator, he has contributed to teaching curriculum design and evaluation tools with Secretaría de Educación de Nuevo León. Recognized for his impact in math education, he upholds for holistic learning, integrating social-emotional development and technology to drive educational innovation.
Please give Federico a warm welcome.
Thank you. Does this work? They gave me this. Can you hear? No, not so much. Can you hear? I think it's not on. Ah, sorry. So I need the microphone. Yes. It's a big room. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Good. So good afternoon, everybody. I think we all love stories, right? We all love storytelling. So I'll begin today's session with a brief story. I'm gonna interrupt it. We're not gonna end it. We're gonna work through our workshop, and we're gonna see the ending towards the end of our session. Okay? Pay attention and try to connect to one of the two characters that appear on the video. It's a very short video. Let's see if it works.
I have a lot of memories from when I was a child. One that's always stuck out to me, though, was when I was about 10 years old, and I was in school, and I struggled. And I didn't struggle with English, math, or science. I struggled holding still. And I would try to listen, focus, and process ideas, but I couldn't help myself. And to be honest, I would sit there and then I would just start tapping, and the students in the class would look at me and they'd say, "Hey, stop tapping." A lot of the time, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then eventually the teachers got after me and they would yell at me and they'd say, "Clint, you have to stop tapping." It got so bad that I got sent to the principal's office for tapping. And he said to me, "Okay, when you go back to class, just try sitting on your hands." So I did. I went back to class. When I felt myself starting to tap, I did this. I sat on my hands. And that worked for about 5 seconds. One time I was napping in class, and the teacher, Mr. Jensen, looked at me and yelled. And he said, "Clint, stay after class." And I thought to myself, this is it. Like, I am done. Now, I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment in time can change.
Raise your hands if you have had one student with similar behavior in the classroom. Only one? That would be good, right? That would be the best situation. But this is only tapping, right? And that's something that's not as disrupting as other types of behavior. So to keep students engaged, we need to understand behavior, and that's what we're gonna work today. We're gonna work 3 sections today, hopefully to help us view behavior in a whole different way. As we go on, I've been a teacher for more than 20 years in elementary school, in middle school, not in preschool. I respect preschool teachers. Raise your hands if there are any preschool teachers here. Everybody, let's give her a hand because preschool is hard. Raise your hands if you're elementary or primary. Isn't it a lovely stage? Let's give all yourselves a hand. Let's clap, give yourselves a hand. Are there any middle school teachers here or junior high school teacher? Also, a lot of respect for these teachers. Let's give them a big hand. What about, are there any high school teachers or higher education teachers? So only 2? Great. This will help you as well. Don't worry. But my whole experience is based as a middle school teacher, as an elementary teacher, principal, and I know how challenging it has become in the late years. So, what we're gonna do today, before we go on, this term of inclusion, right? Have you heard of inclusion before? Yes? So I'm gonna read a definition that I like to have in mind, to consider, so we can understand inclusion. Inclusion refers to the practice of ensuring that all students, regardless of their diverse backgrounds, abilities, or characteristics, are provided with equitable access to educational opportunities, resources, and experiences. We all agree, but it's very challenging. And nowadays in the classroom, the challenge is it's not so much the content, because you guys are all very professional about the content, but managing behavior and understanding how diverse behavior has become in the classroom has become a challenge. So look at this information. The American Society, or the CDC, diagnoses children, 8-year-olds, diagnosed with autism. Have you heard of autism? Yes. So that's a lot. Yes. So back in 2008, the CDC, which is in the US, and I mention this because there's no data here in Mexico or even Latin America. There's very little research, so that's why I use this as a reference. 1 out of 72 8-year-olds in the US was diagnosed with autism back in 2008. They did the research again back in 2020, and look at how much it has gotten. 1 out of 36 8-year-olds diagnosed with autism. So what this means for teachers and the challenge that this represents for teachers might be overwhelming. So what we're going to do today is we're going to understand, sorry, I'm getting the hang of this clicker. We're going to do 3 main concepts. No, how many? 3. How many? 3. Very good. So number 1, what is behavior? And we're going to put on some lenses which will help us understand how to perceive and conceive behavior. Secondly, we're going to see 3 challenging behaviors. And of course, the last and most important thing is how can we deal with these behaviors? Okay? So let's go on with the first one. We're going to see 6 essential concepts of behaviors. What do you see in the picture? What are you observing in that picture right there? Some glasses, a glass of water behind it. What else? 2 glasses, right? So, we see a pair of eyeglasses. One of the lenses is transparent. On the transparent lens, we see water, transparent. But on the rose-tinted lens, how do we see water? Pink or rose-tinted. Why? Because it depends on how you see the water, with which lenses you see the water, that you perceive the color of the water. So, to understand behavior, we're going to go over 6 concepts that, in my experience, helps us a lot to reframe what do we think about behavior. This is the first one. Let's all read together. 1, 2, 3. It's a symptom for an underlying cause. Observe the picture. Imagine you're a PE teacher, a physical education teacher, right? And you're out in the courtyard, you have the group of students you're teaching physical education, and you see the student come into the court, or outside the court, right? And he comes into the wheelchair. If you were a physical education teacher, what would you do? Raise your hands, please. What will you do? Because you're planning a basketball class. But this child right here comes in on a wheelchair. So what will you do, miss? What will you do as a teacher? You see, you have a basketball class planned, and a child comes in on a wheelchair. So what will you do? If you were the teacher.
We'll use a ball and throw it.
I'm going to ask you questions. Would you ask him to run around the court?
No.
Would you ask him to jump? No. What will you ask him to do? What will you do?
Plan a class to include him. Maybe take turns, make lines, and have the possibility to throw the ball towards the basket and have him line waiting for his turn to do it.
Exactly.
And a different thing each.
Good. Hold your thoughts. I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. This is a very clear visual disability. You see it, you adapt. Behavior is not that easy. When you see misbehavior, it is a symptom of an underlying cause. But it's not as clear as a visual disability, for example. So you need to understand that that's a symptom. Just as when your head hurts, right? If your head hurts, you're probably having, you need to drink water, you need to rest, you need to eat. There's something happening. A headache is a symptom of an underlying cause. The same with misbehavior. So that's the first concept we're going to put on our lenses on. Okay? Next one. Let's all read together. Remember misbehavior. That symptom shows you an underdeveloped social emotional skill. So when they misbehave, they're not self-regulating. They don't know themselves. They don't know how to manage their emotions. So when they misbehave, it means that we have an underdeveloped skill. Okay? So the same, if you wouldn't tell a child to bounce a basketball or to run around the court if they're in a wheelchair, well, you need to have this in mind. Okay? The second concept. Let's all read together. 1, 2, 3. Raise up your hands if you're a parent. If you're a parent, mom or child, right? The first way babies communicate is by crying, right? You see the faces of the babies right there? The first baby on the left, what do you think that baby is communicating? Typically with that face, what would you infer as an adult? What is he communicating? Or she? He's feeling something, discomfort, right? So immediately you start making inferences on what he or she needs, right? What about the second one, the second baby? They're very happy, right? So something's probably going on that makes her happy. It's probably a she. And the second one? And the third one? The third one's sleepy, right? So you see the baby sleepy, so he or she needs to take a nap or to go to sleep, right? So behavior is communication. Unfortunately, we develop language in our native language, in Spanish, we develop it throughout the years. And it's not so easy to learn how to communicate what we want. So we use behavior to communicate with our surroundings, with other people, with adults, etc. So actions are purposeful in our attempts to solve a problem. So what we suggest is that instead of thinking, where did that come from? When you see an action, ask yourselves, what is the student communicating? What should you ask yourselves? What is the student communicating? Let's all repeat it. What is the student communicating? Good. I hope you're making notes because there's a quiz at the end and there are prizes at the end. Number 3. Let's all read together. 1, 2, 3. So it has a function. There are 4 functions. And I love this slide right here. It's either to get attention. That's probably the most common, right? So when someone misbehaves, even adults, it's probably because we want attention. That's the first function. Second function, escape or avoid. So when I misbehave, and this happens a lot in an English classroom, it happens a lot when you ask them to write. When you ask them to make an essay or to write sentences or paragraphs, children will start misbehaving because they want to escape the task, because it's so hard for them and they don't want to be there. So you need to be very attentive on what's happening, what they're trying to communicate with us. The third one is to gain something tangible, right? Fourth one, get sensory satisfaction. So those are the four functions that behavior has. So behavior communicates with a function, okay? Fourth, let's all read together. 1, 2, 3. When I see something happening in the classroom, there's always a before and the after. So you need to learn and use those glasses to read behaviors and understand what triggers the behavior. Because behavior occurs in patterns all the time. It's never isolated. When I was a principal, and students misbehaved, teachers came up to me and said, this child misbehaved. And the child was making a tantrum. You know what a tantrum is? Berrinche? Tantrum. Especially preschool, probably even first grade. And you start seeing it even middle school now. But when I asked the teacher, okay, what you're doing, what you're seeing is that the child is doing a tantrum. But what is causing the tantrum? What happened before? Is it the first time? No, this always happens. Not always. It happens in patterns. So we need to learn how to read those patterns. Number 4. 5. Let's all read together. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Boom. Oh, bombastic. Don't try to control your students' behavior. Control your own. Set the example. And understand behavior is communicating a function. And a great teacher of mine told me this analogy that I love. And she asked us as a group, we were all in the master's degree, and she asked us, how many eyes do humans have? How many eyes do humans have? How many eyes? How many eyes? Teachers must use those eyes in 2 directions. One eye is to understand the classroom and the environment, and the other eye is to see within yourself. What am I doing that influences my classroom and my students? So using those 2 perspectives, it's hard because it requires science and art. That's why teaching is not easy. And in my opinion, it's underpaid. But well, that's not. Let's not go there because then we drift off the conversation here. And this is worldwide. This has nothing to do with Mexico or nothing. This is worldwide. The only behavior teachers can control is their own. That's the 5th one. 6th one. 1, 2, 3. Yes, yes, and always yes. But we need to be strategic about it, right? We need to be strategic about it. Good. Ready for the quiz? I don't think you're ready. Nobody's making notes. Make him look. You may take pictures, of course. You're allowed. Be my guest. Look, Miss. Because I'm a very traditional teacher, and I like students using their body to learn, and their body involves their writing. You get a set of flashcards as a prize. They're English flashcards. Can I show them? Just one of them. So obviously it has dual communication, and on the back you have the speaking prompts you can use. Oh, everybody go. Oh, ready. So whoever raises up their hand and gets it correct gets 1 set of flashcards. First one. What was the first concept we saw today? Misbehavior is of an underlying cause. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. You raise your hands first. It's a symptom. Very good. It's a symptom. Very good. But I don't see anybody writing down because I have plenty of flashcards to give out. Raising your hands, don't speak up, don't say the answer out loud because they may win you the prize. The second one. Behavior is? You raise your hand. Behavior is communication, is it right? Yes. Good. Miss, you're going to stand up and get your flashcards because I'm going to... Go ahead. Yes, this is a very big room and classroom management is key. Let me stand here to see who raises up their hands up and clear. Just take 1 set. 1 set, miss. Good. Number 3. Until I project the whole sentence. This is hard. Which are the functions of behavior? Get attention. Is he right? Second, escape or avoid. Tangible, get tangibles. And you're missing one? She got 3 out of 4. Let's give him a prize. You're missing sensory. So one thing is to grab something, and sensory means I need something to calm myself down. Okay? So those are the 4 functions. Number 4. You already got a prize? No. Behavior occurs in patterns. Before and after. Very good. Ready? 5. The only behavior teachers can control is there? Right in the back. In this row, the back miss. Yes. Their own. Very good. No, you have to see this. I know this. The next one won't have a prize. Sorry. That's the easiest. 6. Behavior occurs. No, behavior can be changed. Very good, miss. Take your prize. Now, why is it so important to understand what is behavior? Why? Yes, mister.
Because we work with people. We work with people. We have that, and we need to understand how they act, how they behave. Yes, so we need to be alert. Okay, every time.
Very good. Research tells us that the most important thing for a teacher to make learning effective in a classroom, no matter what you're teaching, is classroom management. And how do you manage a classroom? With behavior. But if you see behavior as misbehavior, oh, the parents don't help me out. Te pico. Es que los papás no ayudan. I know. We all know that. But who's the leader in the classroom? The teacher. And who manages a classroom? Teacher. Well, the children. Sometimes. Hopefully, the target is for the teacher to be the leader. But good. Now that we see behavior through those lenses, what we're going to go is, okay, what is challenging behavior? So we're going to classify them under 3 big categories. And this is just for us to have these mental schemas on how to classify behavior. Now, before we go on to that, let me go through the next categories. Oh, there you go. So 3 challenging behaviors. The first one, get away from me. So what I'm going to ask you to repeat, all of us together, the tone of how would a child would say, get away with me. Who wants to make an intonation? You, miss.
Get away from me!
So let's all do it together. 1, 2, 3. Get away from me! You see how that rebellious attitude would feel? That's one type of challenging behavior. The other type of challenging behavior is, you're not the boss of me. What would the intonation be? Who wants to make the intonation? Very sassy. Ah, nice adjective.
You're not the boss of me.
Everybody repeat. You're not the boss of me. And if you don't make the gestures, it doesn't count. So go again. You did it very well. So let's. 1, 2, 3. You're not the boss of me. Good. So that's the next challenging behavior. And the last one. I don't care. I don't care. Y hazle como puedas. Me vale. Eso es. Those are the three challenging behaviors overall, right? Do you recognize this as, for example, a student who won't work, who won't complete the task? Where would you fit him? It could be I don't care, or you're not the boss of me. I had, when I was a principal in junior high school, I had junior high school, grade 7, 8, and 9, or secondary school. I was 30 years old, and I even had hair, so you can imagine that. I had, my responsibility was 6 groups of 7th grade, 6 of 8th, 6 of 9th in one building. So, and this is not a joke. It is funny, but it's not a joke. When you enter the building, it smelled like a teenager because of all the hormones. 600 teenagers altogether. So one of the most challenging behavior we dealt with, and I remember this was because it's very meaningful to me, was a student who had this type of behavior of, you're not the boss of me. And what happened with this behavior, is it became so out of control. You're not the boss of me, that the behaviors you saw in a 13-year-old were like if he were a 5-year-old making a tantrum. But imagine the strength of a 13-year-old boy or teenager. He was this tall, and nobody could tell him anything, because we were all afraid of his response. So it was really challenging. I, as a principal, had a good relationship with him, but even as a leader in the building, I had a really hard time managing his behavior. He once even threatened to hit a teacher. And this was in a private school, very structured, very organized. So this happens to everybody. So what we need to do is to say, okay, these are the behaviors that we can expect to be challenging in the classroom. And just for you to have like an idea on how, or what the diagnoses are for each of these types of behavior. I know we're not psychologists, and we can't, as teachers, we can't. This is a statement, and it's almost a command. Don't diagnose your children. Because if you're a teacher, even if you're a psychologist, you cannot be judge and part. You have to, but you can identify some of these behaviors. So for example, if you're dealing with get away from me, they're anxiety-related behaviors. One that I would highlight would be, for example, when children cry when they get to school because they don't want to leave home. That's this type of behavior. When they don't want to interact with anyone, have certain particular phobias, that's this type of behavior. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I know that sounds very strong, but the effects of the pandemic are still coming up in the classroom, aren't they? The effects and the aftermath of as a whole, as a society, we can still see them in the classroom. So, get away from me. Do you remember when we reopened schools here in Mexico? Remember those first days, how you saw your students coming back into the school and how they felt anxious and they wouldn't take the how do you call it, the masks? And there were students that lasted for a whole year after reopening with masks because of this anxiety behavior disorder. Those are types of behavior, and you have to deal with it, because if you don't conduct your students, it can lead to very, very challenging behaviors. The other type is the oppositional behavior. You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what to do. And this is very common. For example, students who have deficit disorder, attention deficit disorder, yes, and who are not treated properly, in their teenage years, they might develop oppositional behavior. So that's why you need to have a plan to manage those behavior, and that's our next point. And finally, withdrawn behavior. Major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, adjustment disorder with depressed mood. But this is the final stages of those types of behavior. What I want you to look at are the obvious signs, but most importantly, pay attention here. Most importantly, under-recognized signs. Excessive complaining, declining grades, giving up easily, irritability, restlessness, persistent boredom, not caring about appearance, perfectionism, lethargy. So when those signs are constant, that's a challenging behavior you have to address. Good. Now, we're gonna focus on one, and you're gonna have a small conversation with someone who's next to you, okay? Very short. I know that you can go on and on and on, because this is what troubles and what keeps us awake at night. What am I gonna do with what was the name of the boy in childhood jokes? Pepito? Pepito era el que siempre se portaba mal? Yes? Pepito? Well, what am I gonna do with Pepito? I don't wanna go to school tomorrow because Pepito, tomorrow we have a holiday and they have to come up dressed for the assembly. You know how that goes, right? Or tomorrow they have free lunch and there's gonna be a birthday party and Pepito's mom is gonna have cake in the classroom. Oh my God. Let me ask for a leave of absence for tomorrow. I'm gonna start, because I don't wanna deal with all those behaviors and all those children running around like, yes, I don't wanna say any, yes. So look, what I want you to do, we're gonna raise up your hands, get away from me, get away from me. You're not the boss of me, or I don't care. Raise up your hands if you think you're not the boss of me. It's one of the most common challenging behaviors in your classroom. Raise up your hands if you think that's one of the most common. Raise up your hands if it's get away from me. I don't care. Yes. Okay, so look, what you're gonna do is to think of an example, one example of a student of yours, and you're gonna see it through the lens of behavior. Remember the sixth concept? Behavior is communication, behavior is a function, behavior can be changed. And typically, when you see I don't care behavior, the function of that behavior, negative attention seeking, but also avoid positive attention. They don't care, but they want negative attention. And let me tell you why. If you have a student who shows apathy and doesn't want to work and doesn't want to be engaged, right? How many times will that student have the teacher's attention in one class? Most of the time. Pepito, get to work. Pepito, why don't you want to work? Pepito, work. Right? But if, what, can I see your name?
Maggie.
Your name is Maggie?
Yes.
But Maggie is a very good student. She completes all her work. She behaves properly. She does what's expected. Right? How many times, being honest, how many times will Maggie get the teacher's attention? Oh, one? If she's lucky. Why? Because the teacher. So typically, the function for I don't care is come get me. but not because they don't care. It's their way of communicating that there's something that's being very hard for them. I was with a group of teachers workshopping one particular topic one time, and the teacher tells me, very young teacher, and she says, my students are very lazy. And I told them this. I come from Monterrey. You know how we have big mountains and big hiking trails and so on? And I told them, let me put you the scenario. And I'm gonna tell you the same. Imagine we're in Monterrey, all of us together, and you have a free day tomorrow. I'm a hiking expert. I'm not, but let's suppose. I'm a hiking expert, and I tell you, we're gonna go hiking tomorrow, Cerro La Silla. So get ready. I want you at the hiking post, right at the bottom of the mountain, with a backpack full of 2 bottles of 2 liters of water, a snack, protein bars, fruit, carrying on the back of your backpack. At 5 a.m., it'll take us 5 hours to climb up the hill and 6 hours to climb down. It's actually harder to come down. What would you say? Honestly. Qué flojera. No me digan que no. Unless what? Unless you get paid for that, of course.
You're gonna give a prize, maybe.
You get a prize. But unless you really like hiking and you have the physical condition to do it. But if not, the first thing that comes up to your mind is, ¿qué? Flojera. Ni cuentes con ello. O sea, I don't care. But it's not laziness. It's because I'm asking you to do something that requires so much effort that I'm not going to do it. Because what was the first concept of behavior? Behavior is a symptom of an underlying cause or an underdeveloped skill. So you need to see behavior through that lens and say, of course. I don't like English. I don't care English. I hate English. Do they really hate English? Or is it an underdeveloped skill for them to understand English? And that's so hard. Good. Think about one example. And with these lenses, talk with one of yourselves and try to reframe the behavior of one of your students. That's a challenge for you today. I'm going to give you some time. You share and you listen. And when I raise my hand, that means that time's up. If you see my hand raised, I'm going to ask you to raise them all. And that means all attention is back here on the front. Okay? So when I raise my hand, what do you guys do? You finish your conversation. You do not be quiet. You finish your conversation. Casi se callan y me escuchan. Yeah. No. You finish your conversation and you raise your hand and look at me. Okay? So choose your partner. It's a couple of minutes because we have to move on. And then you stay listening. Go ahead. And do it in English. Only English. ¿A qué horas tengo que cerrar? ¿A qué horas tengo que cerrar?
A las que empezamos tarde. ¿Llevas 20 minutos? No. Es a las 2.
Tú dime nada más a qué hora le corto.
Es que mira, se supone que era a las 11. La próxima 12:30. Vamos desfasados media hora. Y la próxima empieza a la 1.
¿Y así irán los demás?
Sí, todos.
¿Segura?
Tienen 1 hora. ¿Quieres que vaya a checar?
Pues nada más para no cortarle de más, porque sí le va a tener que cortar.
Well, what I think is
You can share among the three of you. No, hombre. Usted le va a poner, I don't care, eh? Show me that you care. Look at what I did. And this is something that's really important. The teachers usually have this type of behavior. When you ask your class to listen and be quiet, teachers go like this. Be quiet. Guys, be quiet. Be quiet. Pues means be quiet. So it's be quiet and model what I'm saying. Be quiet, Juan. Pepito. Pepito. Again, Pepito. Be quiet. Pues means, ya, usted, o sea, pues you model. 10 minutes, good. You see? One example. Who wants to share what they discussed that really helped you reframe how to understand one of your students' behavior? Anybody? Don't worry. Yes, or talk about what your dialogue was about with whoever you were. Who wants to share? Anybody? Good, excellent. Do you want the mic? Yes? Yes, we're teachers. We like the mic. Let's give our hand.
They are not important, they are not enough. And when I have this kind of troubles, I always ask a bit of them and I say, you're very intelligent, you're right, very cool, wow, it's amazing. And I give positive words to them. And this is a very good way to motivate them. Say a positive word.
You get a prize. The last side of flashcards is yours. Thank you for sharing. Good. I would only add to that, of course, positive verbal reinforcement is very important. But imagine the situation. Somebody on a wheelchair, yes? They're used to go on a wheelchair, comes up in front of the staircase. Yes? Staircase. Is it possible for them to go up with a wheelchair? On their own? No. Imagine a teacher, yes, being next to that person in a wheelchair, on a wheelchair. I believe in you. You can do it. Come on, I'll give you a star. Miss, are you okay? Okay. So that example is many times what we do with positive reinforcement without, if it doesn't come without the support for that underdeveloped skill. I can't go up the staircase. I can't behave properly. I know you can. No, I'm telling you with my behavior that it's impossible for me. I still don't have that skill to regulate my emotions, to manage my emotions. So what must I do? A fair plan. What does the word fair mean? Justo, right? Justo, como dicen ahí en DF. Perdón por hablar. Es que dicen así como nosotros decían, ¿verdad? Ahí dicen, justo. Good, a fair plan. And it's fair is an acronym. Do you know what an acronym is? Yes? Fair, just like teach like a pirate, P-I, the same for fair. As a whole, a fair plan manages the antecedents, that before the behavior happens. Remember, behavior occurs in patterns. Behavior occurs in behavior occurs in. So we need to manage the causes that make that behavior occur. We need to reinforce the desired behavior. We need to teach a replacement behavior, because if you are seeking my attention with I don't care, I need to help you replace that behavior with something that gets my attention properly. We need to address the underdeveloped skill. If they get very frustrated with something they can't do, we need to help them manage those behaviors. And that's where our adaptation comes on how do I, if I ask everybody to write a paragraph and I see a student who constantly, can I go to the bathroom? Or misbehave to escape, then I ask him to copy words. I ask him to copy short sentences so I can help him or her address those underdeveloped skills and respond to understanding behavior. If I see a tantrum, if I see I don't care, and I show as a teacher that I don't care as well, because you really don't care. The student is communicating a function. So you need to keep that in mind. What is he communicating? Remember? So the fair plan, just listen before you take the picture. And because that's there for you. F stands for, and let's read all together. The F can you read in the back? No, right? It's very small letter. F stands for functional hypothesis of behavior antecedent analysis. So a hypothesis goes like this. I think Pepito is misbehaving because he is seeking my attention. Why is that? Usually when I assign writing tasks, Pepito misbehaves. That's the F in fair. That's a hypothesis. Of you say, what is the student communicating and why is he behaving like that? What causes that behavior? The A stands for accommodation, environmental, executive, curriculum, skill development. I need to make adaptations. So you need to adapt. The student comes in on a wheelchair in front of the staircase. What is a possible adaptation? A ramp, an elevator, help him use crutches, maybe. You adapt the staircase, don't you? You adapt the PE basketball class for the student who's on a wheelchair. You have to adapt your curriculum to engage, to keep the student engaged, and to have them learn that underdeveloped skill. The I stands for interaction strategies. For example, You're not the boss of me. Sit down. That's the worst thing you can do. It's oppositional behavior. Sit down, they're going to be opposed. So how can I interact with that type of behavior? So, not Susana. You're a very good student. Pepito. Oppositional behavior. So, you have two options, Pepito. You can either sit down, or you can finish your work during recess time. What will you choose? You give him autonomy to decide. And it's not a command. But it's not the same for an I don't care. Good. And finally, the R stands for response. How do I respond? What do I do as a teacher if that behavior takes place? That misbehavior or challenging behavior occurs in the classroom. So you need to take that into consideration. And now, this is the source. It's from a book of two expert psychologists in the US. The QR gives you a format to create a fair plan with this criteria for you're not the boss of me type of behavior. Check if you can download it. It's a PDF, 2 pages, and it gives you a very clear way to address each of the fair plan and how to adapt. Use it for one student. Take it home, print it out, think of the most challenging student that presents you're not the boss of me, and adapt it following the check marks. And try it out. It really helps. And it gives you a structure. So, remember the story that we began with? There was the tapping of a student. There was a teacher whose name was Mr. Jensen. And the student is now an adult, and he was the one who was speaking, right? With this, I close today's session. I greatly thank you, and hopefully you will all be a Mr. Spencer for somebody else. Let's watch the story. Do you want to see it all from the beginning again? Or from where we stopped? From the beginning? No, from where we stopped. Good.
I am done. Now, I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment in time can change a day after class. And I thought to myself, this is it. I am done. Now, I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment in time can change a person's life. And this was one of those moments for me. And I won't never forget it. So I was sitting there with Mr. Jensen and caution. He walked past me, he sat next to his desk, and he said, "Cliff, here, let me talk to you." And as he looked me right in the eye, he said, "I would be too close to be on trouble. But I do have just one question that I have to ask you." And he said, "Have you ever thought about playing the drums?" And in that moment, Mr. Jensen leaned back and he opened the top drawer of his desk. And he reached in and he pulled out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he held them in his hands and he looked at me and he said, "Clint, you know the problem. I think you're drummer." From that moment on, I've never been six feet. I've toured, recorded, played drums all over the world. My whole college education was paid for with drumsticks in my hand. Just because of a single moment in time, when somebody needed to me. And he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And from that moment, I learned that there's a difference between being the best in the world and being the best for the world.
So rediscover the passion for teaching if you're lost, because you might be somebody Mr. Spencer's. Thank you and have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Federico. Did you like it?
Yes.
On behalf of Secretaría de Educación, Inspira Coahuila, and the government of Coahuila, we would like to present you with a small gift of appreciation for sharing your experience and your beautiful ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No picture.
Thank you very much.
Please hold on a second, because we need you to answer
So I need
your
to move,
feedback.
right?
Yes.
¿De qué lado?
Please. And the code.
¿Te gustó? Ah. Está la mía. Did you all guys finish copying this? Ahora sí, ¿verdad? Yo me tengo que mover al otro salón.
Sí.
passionate about innovation and collaboration. She promotes continuous growth within the global language teaching science from Universidad de Monterrey.
That was a very nice introduction. So, hi everyone. How is everyone doing today? You've had a productive morning, right?
It's
How
Marian.
many sessions have you had today?
Are you gonna listen to it?
One, two. This is your second one? Your third one. Okay.
Welcome, Valerie.
Oh, I think they're still registering.
Technology to drive educational innovation.
Okay, while we get the presentation going, everyone, as you heard,
Can I turn on the
today
lights?
we are talking about TPR. Are we all familiar with TPR?
The mic,
It's
this
a
one?
pretty, I would
Yes.
say, common strategy, but in reality, are we using TPR? Maybe, maybe not. We're not sure, and that's completely
start.
fine.
Good afternoon,
In
everybody.
today's session, and again,
already did
you'll
most of it,
see
but good
everything.
afternoon.
I'm a very visual person, so I
hope
like
you're enjoying
to
your
talk, but I
conference.
also like to have
And
visuals in case you are too.
nice to see
We'll be
that you're
talking
doing.
about what exactly
It's
TPR
really
is. It's almost
nice,
like
valid
rediscovering
effort
something we
what the
probably
state of
already
Hawaii is
know,
doing
and we
for
probably
English
have
teachers.
used at some point in our career.
It's an
We'll talk about the
admirable
big benefits
task.
specifically for
So
a
let's
program
begin,
that
shall we?
has very specific requirements and needs. And of
Do you like
course,
stories?
it's a workshop,
We all love
meaning
stories.
you
Stories
work
gives
and
us
I
a way to make
shop.
sense
I wish,
of our
right?
surroundings.
But it's a workshop, so the idea is for everybody
Like an
to
art.
do. So at the end of the session, I will be asking you to work in teams, and I'll tell you exactly what's into the presentation in a bit. Now, I think, can I start? Can I switch this over? Let's see. Oh, it was already there. You guys are very smart. Okay, so welcome once again. Like I said, at the end of this session, we will be not just rediscovering TPR, but the idea is experiencing. What does this mean? I will basically be demoing activities, and you will be my students for just a few minutes. Because sometimes we know the big benefits, but as teachers, we kind of need to be on the other side. And with the demo, see if we like it, if we didn't like it, if it has advantages or disadvantages. Of course, we will reflect on why TPR is still relevant today, 2025. We're still talking about TPR. I learned about TPR how many years ago? Well, yes, it's still relevant and it's still very useful. And like I said, this is a workshop, meaning that you, everybody here, will design your own TPR activities, because I know it's a large group. We won't have enough time, I wish we did, to see everybody's ideas. But at the end of the day, I will ask a few brave volunteers to demo your activities, and then I'll give you 2 extra ideas just so you take home and you see how it was implemented. So does this sound good? Are we in? Okay, are you ready? Perfect. Now, first things first, let's re-explore TPR. We already understand that TPR is an approach. If you wanted technical information, it's what we have on screen. This lovely gentleman, Mr. James Asher, psychologist, basically said TPR is based on something called the trace theory. We're not going to talk a lot about methodology today, but I do want us to see that the trace theory is relevant because it suggests that memory improves when speaking, especially if we combine it with physical activity. Basically, this is the origin of TPR, but for us, it basically means the physical activity connects to speech and action. Very nice. So at the end of the day, we are combining skills, but it's mostly a listening comprehension ability skill, right? So it's listening comprehension, it's doing before production. But that's okay, because a lot of times that's the first step. We need to understand We need to associate with our body, and then we can talk about production. At the end of the day, this isn't something that I said, it's research. We found out that the brain can learn language a lot easier if we do something, right? So this is basically the origin of TPR. If we get a little bit more into why TPR in English, language teaching, and ELT, I have 3 really quick benefits for you. The first one, stress reduction. Happy students are more willing to perform. Some of you work with teenagers. Raise your hand if you are a middle school teacher. Half of you all with elementary, maybe 6th grade preteens, right? Now, teenagers or preteens require a stress-free environment. That's hard. That's really, really hard. But TPR can help maybe reduce the stress and allow our students to be, again, more open to actually learning. So that's fantastic. Bless you, bless you. Now, something really cool is that we link our body to language, which basically means it's easier for me to understand and recall, remember. Because I remember I did something with my body, so it's easier for me to remember a certain word, a certain phrase, and again, it's beneficial for our students. And I have one more for you. These are, again, the big benefits on using TPR and ELT. It's really, really difficult for us to introduce senses into our classrooms. Most classrooms are visual, and that's it. How about those students that need to do? How about those students that need to incorporate other senses? It's very, very difficult, especially because how many students do you have? 30, if I'm being generous, right? 40 students, up to 40 students. As teachers, we wish we had the resources to adapt our lessons to suit everybody's needs. But in reality, that's not always possible. But fortunately, if we incorporate approaches like TPR, we are favoring students that require, for example, movement. And we'll talk about inclusivity in a second. So basically, these are some benefits that we can basically get from just using a very simple approach. At the end of the day, I'm a teacher too. I can't talk to you about beautiful theory because I've been there too. I want to talk about the real classroom, what really happens in our classrooms. First of all, oops, hold on. I didn't want too many clicks. I got excited. First of all, we're building confidence and communication, but do you see? In large mixed ability classes. I'm sure we all have mixed ability classrooms, right? You have some students that are very proficient, and then some students that are still learning. I'm sure you have very large classrooms. It's really difficult maybe to incorporate movement and mingling. This is why we're going to demo. I want you to have the experience of being a student in a large class with limited space, because we don't have a lot of space to move, and we'll see if it works. We'll see if you like it. We'll see if we can tweak and adjust for you to actually apply it in the classroom. Now, best of all we really need is our voice and our body. That's pretty much, you don't need internet, you don't need photocopies, handouts, and it's something that if you have just a little bit of time, you can squeeze in an activity. It's very flexible. Now, I know that maybe you don't want to hear this, but we talk about Nueva Escuela Mexicana, which basically tells us, don't tell me, that learning should be inclusive. Remember I said inclusivity because we're favoring students that have other learning preferences. Be careful here. With TPR, we do require movement. So when I talk about inclusivity, I'm not including exactly 100% of the population. Let's be careful. If we have students with limited mobility, do you have any students with limited mobility? Then we can't necessarily talk about being inclusive. Be very careful. If it works for your class, fantastic. If not, we can adapt it. Maybe students are able to use their hands, maybe not necessarily stand up and walk around. So let's be mindful with that. And of course, with TPR, we can definitely get them to move, think, do, speak, which basically aligns, I'm not Englishing today, with the Common European Framework. So again, these are real benefits for the real classroom. And like I said, today it's basically more practice than theory, because I can't really do much with theory. I'd rather you have the benefits and be inspired to do this next week, okay? Now, I have a couple of pointers of tips for you. Diana, where to start? What can I do? Really simple tips for everybody. First of all, with TPR, the instructions should be short. They should be clear. Because remember, we're working with listening comprehension. And it doesn't mean it always has to be simple. Let me show you. And I'm going to skip one. But it can be progressive. We start small, and we add, and we add, and we add. Now, bottom line, teachers, it's active learning. What does active learning mean? Learn by doing. Do students sit and listen? Maybe, but they have to do. They have to do it because it's really difficult. I observe hundreds of classes per year, and typically we all know what active learning is, but we don't necessarily apply it. Because don't tell me, Diana, I have 40 students. I know. I have 30 minutes. I know. I have et cetera, because I'm a teacher too, I understand. But what I want you to take is that we can use very short activities that are meaningful because they're active. And like I said, we're gonna do it together. You're gonna see me use my phone for a second because I have ADHD and I forget. I have some instructions for you. This is a demo. I am going to be reading these instructions, and you're going to be students. You're going to be nice students, okay? You're going to listen, please. You're going to be perfect students. I'm going to be asking you to do things for me. If I ask you to do something, you do it. If I ask you to stand up, you'll stand up. If I ask you to raise your right hand, you will raise your right hand. Okay, perfect. Now, I have a demo starting from simple to more complex. So my first command for you, everybody, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Everybody, turn around and around and around and around and around and around and stop. Everybody, raise your hands. Hands. Wave your hands. And sit down. Okay. That was very simple commands. Now, can we do something adding body parts? Yeah. I'm going to leave you sitting down for a second, and to talk about mobility. Remember, if you don't have space to stand up, let's try sitting down. Everybody, raise your right hand. Everybody, lower your right hand. Everybody, make a funny sound. Everybody, give yourself a hug. A hug. Everybody, snap your right fingers. Snap your right fingers. Okay, very nice. So this was adding body parts. How about if I ask you to touch things? Of course, we might have some classroom objects, but we're going to do grown-up objects. Everybody, show me your phones. Show me your phones. Okay, thank you. Everybody, if you're wearing glasses, take off your glasses. I can't see anymore. Thank you. Everybody, if you have a pencil, wave your pencil in the air. Wave it around. Just 2 pencils. Okay. If you have a backpack, put it on the floor. Well, put it on the other side of the desk. Okay. But you see how we can, first of all, this is really useful for instruction checking. Because when you ask your students to do things and you don't instruction check, 5 minutes pass and they'll be like, teacher, what do we have to do? Híjoles. So, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna write things down. Okay, show me your notebook. Raise your notebook. But we can add fun instructions and it's TPR at the end of the day, see? And you see how we were sitting down. Yes. Give me, here, please tell us your example.
I wanted to share an example with my students. When they visit the first grade and middle school, they sometimes they come from primary school. They don't know English, some of them. And then I request students say, what can you make a restaurant? And I don't do anything. Then they don't understand that. And then I change and I say, I tell them raise. Who wants to tell me to raise the bar, please? And they do the movements. I do the yeah.
Yes,
and
that
then
is.
and more of them wants to tell me to raise.
Exactly.
That passion and
Love, 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 love. So see how a very simple erase. Use your hands and show me how do we erase. This is TPR. Like I said, I'm sure this isn't new. We probably already have incorporated TPR activities. But what I want us to do is for it to be explicit and to have an objective. That's the difference. You're getting it. Now, did I just click again? I spoiled the surprise. Well, we can add people and names. I don't have all of your names, so I'm going to be guessing a few names, okay? Do we have a Anna? Anna, stand up. Anna, you're the only Anna. Anna, sit down. Do we have a Lupita? Lupitas? No. Are you sure? Lupita, stand up. Lupita, turn around. Lupita, sit down. Thank you. I'll guess one more. Let's see. I won't look at your names. I'm guessing. Do we have a Valeria? No, no Valerias. I see a couple of gentlemen. Maybe Jorge? No? Does anybody know the gentlemen's names? Juan? No? Oh, we have a Juan! Juan, stand up. Juan, dance like a robot. Like a robot. Hey, thank you, thank you. You can sit down. So you can be very specific with people, and again, it's listening, okay? And I really like this one, which is conditional and descriptive, because you can make it a little bit more complicated. If you're wearing blue, stand up. If you're wearing blue, wave to everybody in the class. Wave, wave, wave. Everybody wearing blue, wave. If you're wearing blue, you can sit down. If you are wearing high heels, anybody wearing high heels? I admire you. Oh, we have some high heels. If you're wearing high heels, jump. No, I'm just kidding. No, don't jump, don't jump. If you're wearing high heels, wave, and show us your beauty. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. And you can sit. So as you can see, we can be very specific with our themes. And it's fun. Obviously, the more vocabulary your students know, well, the more complex the commands or instructions can be. If you have the space, you can get them to move. What I like to do is move if you, and then you can say something like, if you have red hair. Is there anybody with red hair? Red? No? Well, if you're a redhead, stand up and move. Don't do it right now because we have limited space. But if you have the opportunity, it's something you can add. And again, you can be as creative. I already spoiled the creativity. But you can add very simple things. Right now I played around with the robot. But you can say things like you're going to wave like a cat. For us adults, it might be difficult because, again, as adults, our creativity is very limited. Thankfully, teachers, we are creative. So we're the exception. But typically, as an adult, if I tell you, wave like a cat, how would you wave like a cat? Maybe like this? We're not sure. For students, specifically primary level students, it's very simple for them to be creative because they're still in that stage of their lives where the system hasn't probably gotten them to stop being creative. So we'll have a conversation about that another day. But as you can see, it's a really good conversation. We can be as specific, as complex, as simple as we need it to be. And I showed you, hopefully, with this example that you don't need space. And it doesn't matter if you have a small class or a large class, you can still do TPR. And because it's very visual, as a teacher, I can see who is understanding the instruction. I can see who is having a hard time following instructions. And at the end, that's called integrated learning and assessment. By the way, we have a free learning and assessment course in Cambridge 1. And if anybody is interested, it's free. If you sign up for Cambridge 1, it's our website. Even if you don't use any Cambridge books, if you sign up, we have a training. It's like a 4-hour training and it gives you a diploma, a Cambridge diploma. So I wanted to give you that information because this is integrated learning and assessment. I'm checking who is understanding and I make decisions. Híjoles, I have to go back and review this word. Oh, I have to go back and talk about this structure, okay? So really nice benefit too. At the end, teachers, I want us to reflect. When we did the demo, how was our engagement as students? Were you paying attention? Yeah, right? Were you looking at who was doing something? Did you have fun with the robot dance? Remember, engagement is not motivation. It's similar. Motivation is if I'm willing to do, and engagement is if I'm doing. So engagement means doing. If your students are like, I want to participate, they're engaged, okay? Now, second reflection. Do you think, or what do you think, we can teach? What type of language can we teach without translating? What can we teach? Body language or body parts, What else? Vocabulary. Actions. Imperatives. Which one? Realia. We can incorporate realia. And that's really fun because that way they can see. If, for example, your students have a hard time listening because you have very basic students, I love that idea. We just show them realia and they have to maybe act what it is. We'll talk about that later. So we can definitely use it to support language building without translation. Wow, fantastic. Now, what I want us to take today we call them recipes. They're called recipes because they're ready for you to take and use, okay? I have a few recipes. These are just ideas. Take them, start seeing, oh, I can adjust this. I can adapt this. Because after the recipes, we have an activity for you to design your own recipe, okay? Now, the first recipe I want to share is very simple. It's called storytelling. And just like the name says, We basically use our body to act out a story. As you can see, we can do something like telling a story about a character running away. So if I'm saying the character ran away, your students, run, 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 okay? For this next activity, I'm gonna need a few teachers that want to stretch and stand up over here. If I don't have volunteers, I'll pick victims. I'll do if you're wearing, but if anybody feels like you need to stand up and you want to do something up here, you can. If not, I'll choose. Volunteers? 3, 2, 1, victims? Okay, victims. If you are an only child, stand up. Oh, come on, teachers. Nobody's an only child. No. If you have 5 siblings, stand up. 5 siblings, brothers, sisters. If you've been teaching for more than 15 years, stand up. Well, I see you, Teacher Juan. Come on. Teacher Maria. See, you were, I almost got you with Lupita, but I didn't. And Teacher Margarita. Over here too? Come on. Over here? Come on. Well, I think we have volunteers. You are going to stand up. You're going to look at the beautiful audience. And I'm going to be over here so they take nice pictures of you. Everybody else, you can follow the screen, but they're going to be acting the instructions, okay? Now, first instruction. Once there was a hungry cat. Touch your stomach. A hungry cat. The cat walked slowly. Then saw a big fish make big eyes. Wow. It jumped. Oh my goodness. Splashed in the water. Splash. And ate the fish. Delicious. Applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. Beautiful victims. You may take a seat. This is a very simple instruction, but as you can see, the story becomes even more interesting for everybody else to watch, right? And you can include everyone. I was asking for beautiful victims. Well, I asked for beautiful volunteers. We got beautiful victims. But the idea is incorporated. Do you want everybody to do it? Do you want just a few people to do it and demo? And I have some variations. For example, if your students have the level, you can get them as an extension task. Let one of the participants tell the story back to you. So, for example, I don't know, let's see, teacher, I see, you're looking at me, teacher. What's your name, teacher? You're Diana too. Teacher Diana, do you remember the story? Yeah. Can you tell us? It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but remember.
Okay, there was a black cat. The cat was very hungry, okay? And suddenly he saw a delicious fish. He jumped into the water and caught the fish. And he ate it, and it was delicious.
Delicious. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Teacher Diana. Now, question, do you think it was easier to remember because we remember the actions?
Yes.
Now imagine everybody doing the actions. You saw the actions. If you do the actions, it's even more memorable. Maybe I don't understand or I don't remember word by word, but if I remember the big eyes, it saw a big fish. Very simple. If you work with older students that might say, teacher, I don't want to do the cat because, that could happen. Not everyone. You can also introduce, instead of a story, maybe like a news story where you have like a narrator. The reporter says, a man ran to the bus stop, dropped his phone, picked it up, and waved goodbye. That's a very random story. But as you can see, it's something you can do, and it's a little bit more appropriate for older students or students that prefer more of a realistic approach. So again, storytelling, fantastic first activity, first recipe. Another recipe for you, and I'm gonna talk about it and then I'll show you at the end of the session. This is a classic. We can use songs and nursery rhymes. For example, do you sing heads, shoulder, knees and toes, heads, shoulder, knees? Okay, well, we won't do it because we're teachers, so everybody's gonna start dancing, right? But that's a very classic song to review body parts, and I'm sure we have more. Like, what was the knick-knack, put it in and running home. That's another good one. Sing it.
Knick-knack on my shoe with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give it to the bell. This old man came rolling home. And then you go on for numbers.
Forever and ever. But see how that's another good one, because the running or the rolling and the da-da-da. So it's something that we can incorporate movement and TPR, right? Another classic. Another really nice recipe, if you're teaching remember how we were talking about vocabulary and actions? If you're talking about food and food preparation, you can almost dictate a cooking instruction or a cooking blog. So if I tell everybody, we are making cakes. And to make this cake, you're going to grab a bowl. Imagine a bowl. Grab a bowl. And then you're going to pour milk. And you're going to stir with a big spoon the milk. That obviously, that's not making a cake. That's making cereal, partial cereal right there. But this is just a little example. Something very common. We all teach food and recipes at some point. If we incorporate movement, we don't have to say, teacher, what's pour? Well, we can show them what pouring is instead of translating, okay? And again, here's the news, teachers. If we translate everything, they're going to ask again and again and again until your students do and they have to think about it, then the vocabulary will become meaningful. And by the way, remember, vocabulary, we need at least 8 times of explicit conscious use for words to stick. So we have to keep on doing it, at least, okay? Now, here's another one. Have you played Pictionary? This is a little spin on Pictionary where I can use my whiteboard. You don't need paper or anything extra if you have a whiteboard. If you don't have a whiteboard, you can even use your students' notebooks and have a pair activity. We adapt. You don't need fancy items. We know that Pictionary is basically students draw something. For example, I whisper, you're going to draw a cat. I love cats. I'm sure you can tell. You're going to draw a cat, and the student draws, and everybody has to guess what the vocabulary or concept is. But if we add movement, instead of everybody saying cat, they act like a cat, or they act the imperative or the action. Then the student can say, yes, it was cat, or no, it wasn't cat, it was something else. This is adding just a TPR spin to a classic activity. Remember, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been spinning and spinning for many years. We are trying to get ideas to reincorporate TPR to our daily classes. Now, this one is another fun one, and I left it for a demo because I'm sure that at this point we need to stretch. This is called grammar yoga. And again, I need to read my sentences for this one. I am going to read a few sentences. If the sentence I read is in past tense, you will have to stay sitting down, relax. If the sentence I'm reading is in future tense, you're going to stretch forward. If the sentence I'm reading is actually a question, you are going to raise your hands up. But remember, this is yoga, so take advantage and stretch and just kind of relax a little bit. I didn't ask you to stand up because, again, I'm showing you how we can adapt to small spaces. So here's the first one. Before I read them, what I suggest, check with your students. What do we have to do when I read in past? Sit, right? Okay. If I read in future? Stretch forward. What was stretch forward? Can you show me? Stretch. Okay, good. And what was the question if I read a question? Okay. Remember, with students that have less vocabulary, we always have to model. I didn't model. We understand the meanings, but just a suggestion. Ready? First sentence. I watched a movie last night. Relax. Will you come to the meeting tomorrow? I studied English at university. I will visit my grandparents next weekend. Stretch. Did you call your students yesterday? I went to bed very late last night. Relax. She will start her new class on Monday. She will start. How about, were you tired after the workshop? I will send the report tomorrow. Did you enjoy this activity? Okay, thank you. See, very nice, very nice. This is an idea, but I'm sure you're already thinking, ooh, I have some ideas. I'm even thinking, because I just saw some classes this week where they were struggling with an, and the. So maybe you can do something like that. Like if this word, well, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but an, it's something you can do. And it could just be raise your left, raise your right, or move to the right, move toward the left. But this is a really nice activity, really simple activity. And again, it also helps manage energy. I'm not saying calm your students down always, but it manages energy, okay? Now, how about this one? This is an action chain. I'm going to go around this row, just so you don't all have to stand up. But basically, someone starts with an action. For example, I clap my hands. Then the next person is going to repeat the action and add one more and do it, okay? Then the next person repeats what the first person said, what the second person said, and adds a third action. And actually, everybody can do it while we listen, okay? This is a very large class. If you have 40 students, what I would do is by row or in smaller groups. We're going to do a row because we don't have time to do everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this row of teachers. I'm not going to start because that's adding one action. First teacher, you can think, what is the action you want everybody to do? It can be stand up, stomp your feet, snap, wave, drink, anything you want. Next teacher, I'm going to hand the microphone. So remember, you repeat, and one more. And the next teacher, you repeat, and one more, etc., etc. You have the hardest one. You have the hardest one. Ready? Are you ready? Everybody, you're going to do, okay? Here we go.
I raise my hand, my left hand.
Thank you.
I raise left hand.
And one more.
I raise right hand.
Thank you. Over here.
I raise left hand, I raise right hand, and clap.
Thank you.
I raise right
Left hand?
left arm, and I raise a left hand, and I clap and move it up.
Nice, 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 nice. Last one.
I raise my left hand, then I raise my right hand, I clap my hands, I move my head, and I fall asleep.
Very nice. Nice, everybody. Applause, applause. Don't fall asleep, though. We're almost done. Don't fall asleep. So this is an action chain. Does it have other benefits? Well, yes. It's not reading. Listening comprehension, collaboration, and again, it relaxes students and it just makes them a little bit more interested in what happens after. Okay. Very simple activity. Don't do 40 students. They won't remember the 40 actions. You can try, but it probably won't work. But you'll get them to laugh. By lines, exactly. I would go by rows or by small groups, or you can combine. If you're wearing pink, that's group 1. If you're wearing purple, that's group 2. Just ideas. As you can see, it's your turn. It is your turn. For this next activity, like I said, I wish we had the time to get everybody to participate. I'm only going to choose 2 teams. If your team doesn't participate and come to the front, it's not the end of the world. This workshop is for you to take to your schools and your classrooms. That's what's important, okay? For this next activity, it has 3 parts. The first part is I am using a page from one of our books. This is a middle school book, but it's a level 1. I thought it was simple enough to use as an example for elementary and middle school. I know we don't have books, but we can find really nice pages online or worksheets. This one, for example, is teaching our students to make a Pictionary or a picture dictionary. And as you can see, the idea, in case you're in the back and it's hard for you to read, it says, make a picture dictionary for clothes. So that's the objective, okay? For clothes, and then compare with a friend. Add more pictures to your dictionary, cover the labels, show the pictures, and then they have to guess the word. And then it says, ask and answer the questions. So as you can see, this is a nice little activity. Can you think of ways of making it better with TPR? Don't tell me. Think about it. I'm going to give you a minute. Think. How can I make it better? By including TPR. Ideas. Very nice. Are you thinking? Everybody thinking? This was thinking time. Now, here comes the activity part. For this next activity, you're going to make small groups, 3 or 4 friends. Yes, if you have a group of 5, it could be a group of 5, okay? But the idea is to find friends. You can stand up somewhere. You can sit next to people. Make some groups, everybody. 3 or 4 people. Find your friends. First, find your friends. Or you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, but find some people. 3 friends, 4 friends. If you don't know friends, make some friends. Everybody find some friends. All right, friends. You are going to design a TPR activity. Choose your favorite strategy, and I might pick you to show us, okay? It has to be short. Find some friends. Yeah, it has to be inspired from that one, which is clothing. So what can you add to add movement and action to an activity like this? Find some friends. ¿Cuánto tiempo nos queda? Porque como nos pasamos, ya no... Sí, para no tardarme de más. Sí, gracias. Good. Seconds. 30 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Hands up. Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. Hands up. And waterfall. Shh. Have you done that one before? That one is my favorite one now. I stole it from a teacher like a week or two. The waterfall. Shh. I loved it. So if you like it, use it. I thought it was funny. But it's also TPR. Waterfall, that's TPR. Now, do we have any volunteers? Let me tell you what you have to do. Well, I already have one first team, 2 teams. Those are my teams. For this activity, you and me, I'll sit down somewhere. We're going to be the students, and our lovely volunteers will demo the activity. So you're going to give us instructions, and everybody else we're going to follow, okay? It has to be short. I said here no more than 2 or 3 minutes, but remember, we can adapt it for this session very short, okay? So first team, and then we said team 2 over here, right? So I'm going to be sitting down. Anyone who's demoing. I'm going to sit down.
Okay, follow the instruction. Okay, you're gonna do 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, now you're gonna do it again. Okay, now just put it down. Now put it down. 1, 2,
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Now Chicky, what's gonna happen? Okay, you're gonna have to do this, right? Because we need the music for that
Siento que ya hay que terminar. Porque ya está la comida. Sí, por eso preguntaba cuánto me quedaba. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Team 1. I have some sad news. We don't have time for Team 2. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But, yeah, give everybody an applause. Give everybody an applause. Everyone, just to close, you can take a picture and then I'll show you what I did. I used artificial intelligence to make a TPR song. Please, teachers, scan it. If you have questions and if you have a Cambridge rep, you can ask and I'll help you. But basically, this website, the QR code takes you to suno.com and you can type lyrics and it makes a song. You're gonna hear the song I made for the clothing activity, and that's all we have time for, okay? Hold on. Hold on. Here we go. Your socks and shoes. Stomp, stomp. Take off your jacket. All right, teachers. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I'll leave the QR. Remember, it's called Suno. You can add lyrics and it makes a song. So with this activity, teachers, we're going to close. I hope that you rediscover TPR. I hope you're inspired to incorporate movement, to use less Spanish, and be more active, okay? You guys did fantastic. So thank you so much for having me today. Thank you so much.
For the question and active sensation and remind us the power of movement and engagement in language learning.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Secretary of Education, Inspira Coahuila, and the government of Coahuila, we would like to give you a small recognition
thank you.
as a sign of our appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is so beautiful. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Thank you, teachers. Yes. Yes.
For this year is going to have the QR.
Yes.
For the attendance.
I miss it.
The 3C is going to be of the main group.
You wanna? ¿El Zuno? It's a really good website. Está fantástica. Thank you. Oh, good. I'm glad. No. Así nos pasa. Nos